We back, them brothers from Inglewood podcast, once again coming to you with a few interesting subjects that we're going to platform from. It's good to be in the studio again with Charley Mack, my co-host. I'm Hoopie, and we're looking forward to having a great discussion today. Before I even introduce the subject, I just want to throw it to Charley Mack, let him holler at you.
How you guys doing out there? We kind of picking up a little traction on the views, man. Thank you guys for tuning in, and it's letting us know that you guys really want to hear what we got to say, because we have attracted a lot more viewers. It's coming slowly, but it's a process. I don't think there's nothing out there like what we have in terms of our platform and the things that we talk about, in terms of it being reality and stuff that people can relate to. It's not a lot of nonsense. So put your seatbelts on, guys. Strap them on. We about to get a bumpy ride going here.
Yep. Well said. Again, man, it's good to be back in the studio chopping it up. And as you forestated before we came on air, some of the realities of what we experience day to day need to be shared and ultimately need to be resolved.
Right. Hopefully,
the information will lead the listeners and the viewers to better resolve.
Right.
And so today we just want to introduce a topic that we want to discuss and just kind of break down. We may not be able to break it down as thoroughly as we would like, but hopefully it'll give you some
insight.
Exactly, and give you some courage to kind of look a little deeper.
Yeah, take a look at yourself.
Exactly. So we want to talk about 7 characteristics that you want to avoid. 7 characteristics that you want to avoid.
Yeah, you don't want no parts of these characteristics.
And it's good that we can have this discussion and kind of sort through some things, because it might bring some focus as to how people really get down.
Right.
Some people function in a way that they try to disguise.
Right.
And then others function in a way that they may not even be aware of, because they've been doing it
for so long.
Right. It becomes like a part of them.
It's like old hat to them.
Right. So the first characteristic that I want to throw at you, and we can see how that looks, is gluttony.
Okay.
What do you think about that characteristic?
It's a word where it's gluttony. It's not, because when you hear the word gluttony, you have to define what gluttony is. It's not that you're fat, or it's not that you're overweight, or it's not that you're obese. Gluttony can be a thing where you are consuming too much of something. It could be consuming too much of life. It can be consuming too much of work.
Right.
It's gluttony. It all falls into that category of being a gluttonous person, meaning that you're doing too much.
Right.
Whether it be you're eating too much, you're sleeping too much, you're, whatever it is, you're doing it in excess.
There you go.
And that's what gluttony really means. And that word gluttony and that characteristic can actually ultimately bring you to your downfall.
Okay.
Because like I said, it's a consumption thing. Gluttony.
Yeah.
It's not about being fat or nothing like that. It's just about you're consuming too much.
Okay. And because of that characteristic, that means that it could be the individual that's always looking for more.
Right.
Having more than they can handle.
Right.
Having more than, I don't want to say than they deserve.
Or than that they should, but
and then they
more.
They still want more.
Yeah.
It's like, if you, and I'm just throwing it out there. If you're a multi-millionaire,
right,
and your way have been made from a financial standpoint,
right,
you have all the materials that you need,
right,
you can only drive one car at a time,
only
but
one.
you got 26 of them.
Exactly.
So but you got 26 cars and you're not loaning none of them out.
There you go.
And some are just sitting in a garage, getting detailed, getting started, making sure the oil is where, but nobody's driving it.
Exactly.
Tires are getting low because it's been sitting so long.
Batteries are dying because the car's been sitting so long. And like you said, you can only drive one car at a time.
Is that gluttony?
That's gluttony in a sense, because when you really look at it, you have people out there who, they have a house in New
York?
in New York, and they may have a house up in Big Bear, and they may have a home overseas, and they have a home. How many homes do you need?
Right.
You can only live in one home at a time. I can understand people accumulating wealth and they want to have something here and there. It's okay if you're gonna. I think to have a home in maybe 3 places, if you're gonna really be in these places 4 months out of the year, every year, then yeah. Okay. But just to have a home somewhere, just to say I have it, that is a part of gluttony, because it's like you said, you're consuming and you're wanting more and you're getting more, and for what?
Okay. Now.
And for what?
So we're not speaking to those who do those type of things for tax reasons, tax purposes,
right.
Business. We're not. This is not the. Those are the exceptions.
Right.
We know wealthy people have multiple. Things that they're involved in for tax reasons.
Right.
Some of those locations, they actually rent them out.
Right.
People do lodge in these particular places. But we're speaking to those who are not leasing them out, allowing people or affording people lodging because they have so many facilities of their own. Or think about this. When you speak of that, I think of like all these empty buildings, commercial buildings. They sit for years.
Oh, longer
years.
than that.
Nobody ever occupying them.
Oh, yeah.
But they'll just let them sit empty, and people are walking around here homeless. I mean, really.
Oh, no. The government have homes right now in every state that have sat very empty for decades. And these were homes that used to be the soldiers' homes and their families. And for whatever reason, they're all empty and they're all vacant.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're all over. They're up in... They're here.
All parts of America.
They're right down in... They're locally here. They're up in... They're in every part of the city you can even imagine, and it's government property, and these are homes and everything, and they're boarded up, and they're empty, and you're talking probably sitting on 10, 15, 20 acres, and you have probably a couple of hundred houses. That's all empty.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
So gluttony is a characteristic that we have to avoid, and we should identify with.
Right. Recognize.
Not being critical of other people, because that's their choice. However, we should speak to that.
Yeah.
Because having more than enough is a sin in itself.
Yeah.
Not saying that you didn't earn whatever it is you got. You could have inherited a bunch of stuff. But at the end of the day, who are you sharing?
Well, not only that, every single topic that we talk about today, in terms of what's on our topic, you have to be careful, because each and every one will ultimately take you to your death.
Okay.
That's the thing.
I got you.
Every single thing we talk about,
you.
They can. That's the word I'm looking for. They can destroy you in one way or the other. Whether it be taking you to your death, or whether it be having you lose everything, or whether it be having you lose relationships and friendships and marriages and relationships. Every single thing that we talk about.
Okay. The next thing is it's in the same family.
Right.
Greed. So greed is the number 2 thing that we're discussing as to avoiding these characteristics. You don't want to be found with these type of characteristics, because that doesn't constitute a good person.
Yeah, and then here we go again. When you use the word greed, it's not about being greedy in terms of consumption of food. Yeah. Greed could be in a consumption of everything.
Yeah. Things
that, okay, perfect example, and this is sad. I knew a man, and this was a pretty wealthy man. He had probably one of the most successful black businesses probably in the United States,
Okay.
in terms of what he had, the business that he had.
Okay.
I won't say United States, but I'll say probably within California. I know for a fact. But anyway, this guy would go out and buy. Okay, perfect example. My friend went to him one day and said, "Oh man, that guy, he got a '57 Chevy over in his yard, and he's only asking $2,500 for it. But man, I don't have the money. I need to get it." Well, this individual got wind of that and said, he went out and bought it and just stored it just so the other guy couldn't buy it. Just because he was so greedy, he didn't want this guy to have it. So he went and bought it and just let it sit. Yeah. That's
Just so the other guy couldn't get it.
just so he couldn't get it.
So greed really escalates, and it gets deeper than what meets the surface.
Yeah.
Because we've read about it, we've even experienced it in our lives, once or twice, or some have done it even more. But greed leads to a lot of bad decisions.
A lot of bad decisions.
People have lost their lives behind greed.
Yeah.
People have committed crimes that got them locked behind bars for the remainder of their life out of greed.
Or even killed.
Or killed.
Because of greed.
Because of greed.
Because you wanted that extra icing on your cake. You wanted a little extra icing, so you went the extra mile and ended up getting locked up or ended up getting killed. I know a lot of people to this day, because of greed, they're locked up and they've lost their lives.
Yeah.
Because of the word greed.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to, like how you were saying, you have to recognize when that is in front of you and say, wait a minute, let me check myself, before I find myself beside myself. No, really.
Right.
Let me check myself, because I'm like, ooh, do I really need this?
Right,
Or do
right.
I just want this?
Do I want it?
Out of just being greedy.
And like you said, it's very interesting what you said earlier, how the guy caught wind of the information, bought something that he didn't need.
He didn't want it.
But he really did it to
spite the other guy.
Exactly.
That's greed.
That's terrible.
That's what I'm saying.
So now we're looking at characteristics, and we're not judging people. We're just saying that if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
It's probably a duck.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we look at this one aspect of greed, it has variations and degrees to how bad this characteristic truly is.
Yeah.
Because and you alluded from the point of consuming more than enough food.
Yeah.
People do that.
Well,
they
no.
hoard.
Oh no, I know.
They go into markets.
I know.
Like I knew this elderly woman. She was doing good, retired, just pretty much was doing really good. And man, when you went into her home, into her kitchen, it was just stuff everywhere. Outdated, expired food, but nothing was given away or nothing was thrown away. So really, are people that have those hoarding...
I was going to say that might be hoarding.
Is that greed?
No, that might be hoarding. That might be a whole nother topic right there. She might be a hoarder.
So isn't that in the same family as greed or selfishness? I mean...
No, that's a disease, man. People hold on to things and they don't want to let it go. And for whatever reason, why they don't want to let it go, they start accumulating more and more and more. But it's not accumulating wealth. It's not accumulating something that's of value. It's just not being able to let go what you have.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Okay.
And this is another small definition of what greed may be. And we've all done this. Can you ever remember when you would sit down and eat, and you would eat so much to where you're miserable?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like,
oh yeah.
why did I
Ate
do
too
that? And
much,
you can't
yeah.
even walk,
Yeah,
and your
yeah.
stomach is hurting. You got to go
Yeah.
to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's greed.
Yeah.
You don't.
Right.
That's the reason why, really, Americans in particularly, and we overeat.
Yeah, when we start to look at other countries.
We overeat. And,
we do.
And when
we
you,
do.
And
we
when
do.
you sit down and eat something, you're supposed to eat to where, okay, I'm comfortable.
Right.
And stop.
Yeah.
You don't eat to get full.
No, you don't eat to get full.
You eat to get comfortable.
I learned that from a trainer.
Yeah, you have to eat to
Thanks
get
a
comfortable.
lot, Dark Stamps. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you got to eat to be comfortable. You don't eat to get stuffed and full where you're miserable and where you want to just go lay down and where you can barely walk and you can barely breathe because your stomach is so full.
Right.
Eat just to get comfortable and then save the other half for later.
Right.
You can make one meal out of two. You can make lunch out of lunch and dinner.
That's right. Yeah.
But people don't do that. They'll sit there and they want to eat the whole sitting right there in one sitting, and now they're miserable.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because my largest meal is lunch.
Yeah. I think my largest is breakfast.
I just really started back eating breakfast like a couple of years ago because I was always used to just kind of going and working out and then starting my day and then not really feeling hungry until lunchtime.
Right.
So usually lunchtime is like my first meal, but since I've gotten older, I started eating a little something for breakfast.
Well, breakfast, people don't understand. Breakfast that's what it means. You're breaking the fast.
Yeah.
You fasted all night,
right,
and now you have to get up in the morning and you have to break that fast. Right. And you have to put something in your stomach to get the fuel going. You got to get the fire lit. Right. If you don't get the fire lit when you wake up in the morning, then it doesn't get lit until 12, 1 o'clock. Now your metabolism slows down, and everything that you put in your body, the body takes it and stores it because you've been starving it, and it stores it as fat. So that's why breakfast is the most important meal.
I got you. Yeah. So now that we've been introduced to gluttony, greed, we're going to speak to another characteristic, which is number 3, envy.
Wow.
Envy has been the enemy of society since the beginning of time.
Right.
When you talk about Satan or Lucifer, who was cast out of heaven because of envy and how that it wanted to be in control, take command. So we've seen the fall of man before the beginning of time, right? So now when we talk about envy, what are some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to that little word?
See, envy is funny because envy can be really ambiguous because it can be used in a good way and it can be used in a bad way. And when I say ambiguous, for the viewers who may not really know what that means, it's just vague and it's not clear. Okay. Because you can envy someone but not hate them. Yeah. You can just be like, oh man, I just envy their life. Yeah. They this, they're that, but with no ill will.
Okay.
But on the flip side, you can have that envy and you can have that hate behind it too. Oh man, I can't stand them. They're just, they're this and they're that, and it can make you go out and do something that you wouldn't normally do because you have all this negative energy built up in you, and you don't want to see this other person succeed, or their success is just tearing you apart because you're watching them be great at whatever it is that they're doing, and you're over there instead of you saying, well, shit, if they can be great, I can be great. Right. Instead of you saying that, you're so busy trying to figure out, well, how can I tear them down?
I got you. So envy can actually be a situation to where a person wants what the other person had or want to be like the other person.
Yeah.
It's like emulation.
Yeah.
Like they deep down they emulate you, but it's a weird twist.
It's a weird twist to it.
Because now they're not really happy about it. They're really upset. And this envy becomes more of a target to like, okay, I'm going to tear Charles down any way that I can because he don't deserve that.
Yeah.
So now you're judging and you're making a decision for someone else because of what you're lacking.
Yeah, or like I said, that word can be, like I said, it's a real vague word because also you can live vicariously through someone else because you admire them and you may envy them in a way where it's a positive envy. Like, oh man, I just envy their
Is that
life.
admiration or? But like you said, you're right.
It's ambiguous. It's like a gray area with that word. It really is
right
because,
there.
like I said, I know people that I'm like, man, this dude right here. It's like, man, I kind of envy this guy, you know, but not in a bad way.
Not in a bad way, because sometimes like we might work the same job and the same shift, but then the supervisor come to you and say, you know what, Charlie Mack, I'm gonna let you off this weekend.
Right.
I know you haven't been off in the last 3 months.
Right.
But go ahead, and we'll take care of your shift, but we're gonna give you your weekend.
Yeah.
And then I say, I'm your coworker, and I'm like, man, I envy you, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I gotta be here.
Exactly.
For another weekend.
Exactly.
And you get to go on your trip.
Yeah, but
not in a bad way.
Right, it ain't hating.
I got
but
you.
So that's why I say that word is really, really ambiguous.
Okay.
You have to, there's you can use it. There's two sides to that coin. There's heads and there's tails.
So this now we're speaking to characteristics that we want to avoid.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well,
but that's a good. No, you just gave us a good spinoff and the opposite side of why we want to stay away from the other characteristic of envy.
Because all those, like I said, we spoke of gluttony first, then greed, now envy. Every word and everything that we talk about, these are ultimately words that will destroy you.
I got you.
Whether it be it can either destroy you to the grave or it can just destroy you as a person.
Right.
Because envy can do that as well. We talked about the other ones, but envy also, because you envy someone so negatively,
I got you.
You can ultimately, put so much energy into being so envious of this person, you forget about who you really are.
You lose yourself.
You lose yourself.
I got you.
Next thing you know, you ready to do anything to bring that person down.
Right.
And then, by bringing this person down in a certain kind of way, yours is coming back. You're going to get yours. I may bring you down on some whatever, but then it's coming back. So like I said, it's ultimately going to destroy you.
You're right.
Because it's just, what goes around comes around.
You're right. You're right. The fifth characteristic that...
Fourth.
The fourth characteristic that we want to avoid is pride. Pride... Bro.
See, let me jump on that one first.
Go ahead.
Let me get a crack at that one.
Whoa.
See, pride is like this. Pride only hurts you.
Okay.
Pride doesn't really hurt anybody else. Pride it's about you. Okay. Because being prideful, you can ultimately miss out on your own blessings and your own rewards and the benevolence that may come with what your pride is no good.
I got you.
Pride is something that you need to take a look inside yourself and say, you know what, man, I'm gonna just give an example. Let's just say my uncle is a very, very successful man. Mm-hmm. And I'm close to my uncle. Mm-hmm. And I go through a hardship and I really need some help financially. But I'm so prideful within myself, and I'm so, whatever the word you may want to use, it stops me from going to my uncle saying, hey, Uncle,
I'm doing bad.
Uncle Junior, I'm doing bad, and I'm in a bad place in my life right now. I need a little help. Can you help me? Pride will stop you from going there. Pride will stop you from getting a good job. Pride will stop you from a lot of things. And you have to take a look at that. If you got something that's kind of stopping you and you're like, well, I'm independent and I'm not used to asking anybody. And we're both that way. Yeah. And I even know a lot of people that way. But sometimes you got to say, no.
I need some help.
And I'm going to go and I'm going to ask for help.
Yeah.
That's what pride can do. It's that inner pride. It'll hurt you.
That's good. That's a great perspective. And fact. That is a fact. Because when you were saying that, I thought about people who lose their homes to foreclosure.
There you go. And I mean, I know a lot of people do that.
Black, green, blue, age. It doesn't matter.
Pride.
They lose their homes to foreclosure.
Instead of going to someone and saying, hey,
I need some help.
Yeah. It's pride.
You rather lose a legitimate property
Yeah.
that won't fall into the hands of anybody you know because you don't want to say,
I need help.
I need help.
Yeah.
You don't want to raise your hand and say, I need help.
That's pride.
And I think a lot of that pride develops through when we make error, because we all make errors, and now it's all about what you think somebody's going to think about you.
Yeah.
You made a mistake. If you're wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah.
However, we make mistakes. If I'm able to help you, you should be able to have enough confidence to come and say, I need a little help.
Listen, I know a woman that's so prideful.
Wow.
So prideful, they would rather lose their marriage and relationship and anything else because they don't want to get into this place to where they come. It's almost like coming on bended knees. You don't have to come on bended knees literally, but you're coming on bended knees. You're coming to say, you know,
you're humbling you should.
There you go.
You gotta humble.
You gotta
yourself.
come as a humble servant.
Yeah.
And say, this is where I'm at with this. This is what I want to do.
Right.
This is what I don't want to happen.
Right.
But pride holds that person so far down to where they're not gonna it's like they're in a tug of war with themselves.
A serious tug
They're
of
in a
war.
tug of war with themselves. That's pride. Pride is and like we talked about, that's another ultimate thing that you don't want to have that characteristic, because ultimately it's gonna have you lose. You're gonna lose being prideful.
In all aspects.
You don't win.
From you're right.
You don't win.
In all aspects.
You don't win being prideful. You lose. You lose more being prideful than now. You may win with your inner self. Like, oh, I'm not gonna be the one to say I'm sorry, or I'm not gonna be the one to come to you first because I didn't start. That's pride.
Exactly. And you're gonna lose that relationship.
That's pride. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I've been guilty of it.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of being a little prideful.
Yeah.
We've all been guilty of it. No, none of us are perfect. We all have our shortcomings.
Right.
But when you ultimately let that destroy you and destroy friendships and relationships and marriages and all that, that's when you lose. That's when it becomes like a characteristic that you don't want.
Yeah. No, I totally get
Yeah.
that. And a lot of people that we come across and we talk to, or we had inner dealings with,
Right.
for some reason, they're never going to say that's the issue.
That's pride.
I didn't come to you then because I had pride.
That's pride.
It's just, is that have anything to do with accountability too? Does pride play a part in not having accountability? I don't feel like I have to be accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, in a sense it does. In a sense it does. But ultimately it's just that it's something within that person's inner self that won't allow them. You know what I think? For some people, they would rather look and appear to be strong than to look and appear to be weak. And weak is not a bad thing, and that's not the word that I'm even looking for. I don't want to use the word
vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
People
don't want to be. They don't want to look like they're vulnerable. They want to look like they're always strong and nothing phases them, and they can take a bullet and it won't penetrate. That's how a lot of people want to look, instead of coming to someone very humbly and saying, "Hey, look, man. I
apologize.
Yeah, or whatever.
I'm sorry.
Hey, look, man. I got 2 movies because I went to the director and been like, "Hey, man, I can do this or I can do that. You got a part for me." Yeah. The worst thing you can tell me is no.
Right.
Right.
Because you're gonna keep pushing forward anyway.
Pride is not. Listen, man. Pride is not gonna let me lose anything. Before I take a L, because I'm so prideful, I'm not taking an L.
I got you.
I'll come if I'm not gonna let something get past me because I'm too prideful to ask. Oh, I'm asking.
I got you.
You can think of whatever you want to think about me. I've never cared about what a person thought about me. I never cared. And I think that's another thing people have to get past. Don't worry about what someone else thinks about you. If you know who you are and you know the kind of person that you are and your personal friends and family know who you are, Don't care about what someone else thinks about
Gotcha.
you, because you know that this person who may be want to judge you, who cares what they think? You're not in my immediate circle anyway.
Right.
I don't care what you think about me. You don't know me.
You don't know.
And I think a lot of people, they're so afraid of looking embarrassed. Oh, I
Yeah.
don't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
The fifth thing is a characteristic that we would like to avoid as well, and it's to be sloth, which translates into it's a form of laziness or being lazy, being reluctant in your performance or
Right.
your pursuit of something. But that characteristic is not a good one.
Not at all.
To develop a spirit of laziness and a practice of laziness
Woo.
will cause you to do what you just said. It'll hurt you and it'll cause you to lose out. Because if the job says be here
There you
at
go.
9 a.m.
There you go.
and you can't get out of the bed, or you don't get out of the bed until 10 a.m., and that's your struggle, then you're going to be jobless for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, even
Or go into entrepreneurship, which is not going to last either.
Oh, it ain't gonna last because you have this sloth. You know, I mean, it's the same thing with being productive in your own home and getting up and wanting to clean your house and make sure that this is taken care of and the dishes and I have to make sure that I go and clean the attic or the closet or blah, and vacuum the floor or carpet and clean. It's gonna cause you not to do any of that stuff. Because it's you're lazy.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that I think every woman probably runs from is a lazy man. And the one thing men probably run from is a lazy woman.
Yeah.
Nobody now if you got a lazy woman and a lazy man, y'all gonna be good together.
Yeah. Because you can relate.
You can relate.
That's what you guys do.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you guys aren't going to get much done between each other.
They don't care.
They
don't care.
But if you trying to cohabitate together, there's going to be something that you may need your partner to do that they're not willing to do, and you're going to bump heads. I mean, how you going to get anything done?
That's why they're in the position that they're in, and that's why they're together, because they both got the same traits.
Right. So when I think of being sloth and how this is something that damages you, it hurts you in the long run, it makes others that you once dealt with or have to deal with look at you like, you know what, I'm not calling Cameron on this one. I'm going to deal with, Charley Mack.
Hey, yeah.
So you lose opportunities.
Oh, it's so funny that you say that, man, because you're right. There's been people who I needed to get things taken care of. I'm like, let me call. I'm like, oh man, this dude, he ain't gonna get on it. He's gonna procrastinate. He ain't gonna jump on it. His business savvy is just, like, oh man, it's like, so you say, you know what, I'm gonna skip him. Or I've had people come to me and say, hey man, you gotta hook up on this guy. Somebody who knows how to do this. I'll be like, yeah man, but you know what? I ain't gonna turn you on to him because he may not even call you back.
Right. Right.
He may not even call you back, man. It may be a month or two.
I told someone recently, within 6 months ago, I said it's sad that I don't even have the confidence to put you as a reference.
Wow.
To anything extremely important, because you may not even answer the phone.
Wow.
You may not even pick up, and I'm in a life and death situation. So I don't even suggest that I put your name anywhere.
Wow.
To me,
wow.
To me, that's a bad position to be in.
It is.
I think I even told my oldest son one time. I said, there's a sense of responsibility for all of us, and if you're not picking up for whatever reason you think or you deem is that important, then that means you're not considerate of
the other person's
interest
yeah,
in trying to reach you or convey to you or even give you something.
yeah,
In other words, what you're saying is, I don't want, no, it's not like that. I fell asleep or this and that. Okay, but that shouldn't be consistent.
right.
I get all that. That
Right.
happens.
But not all the time.
And this is just a teaching moment. This is not a reprimand. This is not, I'm not bashing. I'm teaching you so later on as you get older in life,
Right.
you'll value,
Right.
that situation.
Right.
Not pertaining to me, just anybody. It could be the school principal.
Yeah. No, you're right.
They could be one of your instructors that want to, say, you know what, I'm going to give you this special award, and I want you to just kind of prepare a thank you note, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And so that was a teaching moment for me with my son, and I think that those are the things that we have to highlight when it comes to characteristics that we should avoid.
Yeah.
The sixth thing is anger or wrath. They go hand in hand.
Right.
When you look at it in definition, it's okay to be angry, but then there's a responsibility that we all have when this emotion occurs.
Right.
So speak to that. I mean, this is a characteristic that we're avoiding. We don't want this, but what does wrath or anger mean to you?
It's one of those things that it can cause you to find yourself in a position where you act out immediately, and then the repercussions could be deadly, or either the repercussions can be really crucial to your position, whether it be your job, whether it be whatever it is that you have going on. The repercussions of your wrath and your anger can cause you to be in a position where you look up and you be like, oh man, damn, I wish I would have just, perfect example. You could be driving down the street, man, and just get caught up in a moment real quick in a road rage incident, and next thing you know, you may not even have a weapon, and the person that you're yelling at or whatever got the weapon, and you look up and you shot. Are you shot at? Are you in the hospital?
Yeah.
Or you've ran someone else over because you're trying to get away from something else. Same thing that happened with Suge. He got caught up in that wrath where he's trying to get away. Yeah. He didn't mean to hit Terry and kill him. Yeah. Him and Terry was boys.
Yeah.
And Terry ended up losing his life because of the wrath of that incident.
Yeah.
And that's why those are the characteristics that we want to avoid.
Yeah. Yeah. And these are natural emotions that requires a response.
Yeah.
That's why, from a biblical sense, the scripture talks about being slow to anger. Why? Because the wisdom that we must apply to the knowledge of anger or wrath has to be properly instituted or executed, so to speak. A lot of times we've said things that we didn't mean when we were angry.
Yeah.
And then we said things that we meant
when we were angry. Yeah. Be like, oh, that's how you really feel, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are things that we have to be responsible for, looking in hindsight. And if that becomes a regular practice, then you'll know how to scale back and not respond in various ways. There were people that lost their lives, by the hands of law enforcement, based on how that officer responded in anger, or how that individual, responded, and may have made a sudden movement. Yeah. Or may have thrown his hands up or her hands up, and they think like, oh, this guy got a weapon. Yeah. So I think these characteristics, we know that they're,
anger is an emotion and things of that nature. But we can also wear them. We can wear these characteristics that we just talked about, and it's given in a poor light. So the last thing, and I know a lot of people, they can just jump on this, and we don't even mind if you write in and give some responses. But lust.
Let me get a crack at it. Let me get a crack at that one.
Lust.
Lust is I think is probably one of the worst, because, and I'm gonna tell you something, and I don't think a lot of people in the audience know this, and I'm gonna break it down and I'm explaining this to the audience, and I never understood it either until I looked at the reasoning why. Okay. And you may know it and maybe you don't. So lust is one of those things where it's also something that can make you act out of your flesh.
Okay.
Lusting for whatever it is, whether it be lusting for a woman or lusting for a car or something material or whatever it is. Okay. Lust can make you want something so bad to where it affects your inner being. Okay. People never understood why in the Middle East, why the women wear the whole garb, they cover their face, they cover their bodies. You know why?
Why?
They do that because the Muslims, their whole thing is the total submission to God. So total submission to Allah.
Right.
They know that lust is a sin. They know if this woman is covered from head to toe, the men can't lust.
At least not over a physical woman.
Because there's nothing to see.
Right.
And for them, the only person that's supposed to see them that way is their husbands. Right. So that's why the women are covered in that country. It has a lot to do with their culture in terms of what they believe in the Quran.
Yeah.
And it's because if you're covered up, there's nothing to see. So there's nothing to lust over. Right. Think about it. You driving in the car, you see some young lady walking down the street with some booty shorts on and a halter top, and she's beautiful. Not only are you going to look, you're going to look, and if you keep looking too long, you're going to start lusting. Yeah. And you're like, whoa, hold on, man. Let me quit looking. Because now you start to undress this woman in your brain and start having all these crazy thoughts, and that's not biblical. Exactly. And that's not good.
No, because the Bible talks about committing adultery in your heart.
Yeah.
Because it really derives from lust. This spirit of perversion that begins within you, and then it goes deeper and deeper into lust. Because now you're not controlling your thoughts.
It starts being mental.
Exactly.
You can lust after a material possession so much. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, I want that women. Oh, I want that Louis bag so bad. Right. I want this. No, it'll make them do something out of character that they may not normally do.
Just to get
They may say, oh man, this the guy. Oh, I gotta sleep with this dude. But I want that bag though.
Right.
That's out of lust.
I got you.
And the same thing for men. They may want something so bad, like, oh man, I want this. Who can I rob?
Right.
What can I rob?
To get this Rolex.
To get this Rolex, or to get this car, to get whatever it is. That's lust. That's that lustful spirit.
Okay. Now, you told me something many years ago. It made a lot of sense. You said that, and you used somewhat that analogy about Islam and the Muslim belief and practice. You said that there is something in every man, not just male, but in every human, every male and female, that we're wired a certain way, that we have to bring that thing under subjection because it's always pulling at us.
Yep.
And so when I think of lust, I think of a not a natural. I'm not saying lust is a natural emotion and natural feeling, because it's not. It's a perverted spirit that the enemy uses to pass on as love.
Right.
So everything that we understand through biblical texts, or through the Quran, or through most religious material, it does talk about the love versus lust, right? So we understand that scenario. However, now that we have this lustful demon spirit that's chasing us, because God created us to have these desires, because Genesis talks about it. Anyone that knows anything about the Bible, Genesis talks about why Adam was presented with Eve. God said it's not good for man to be alone. And then he went on further to describe, as it relates to how he would look upon this woman.
He wanted the head. He wanted her.
Yeah, and then we look further in King David.
Yeah.
Oh, he was lusting over Bathsheba.
Hey,
he was lusting, bro.
Look, he lusted over Bathsheba so much, he put Uriah on the front line to get killed in the army so he can have his wife. Yeah. He put the man on the front line to get killed.
Sister.
That's lust.
I was a sister, homie.
Wow.
But so
was that his sister?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. She was. She Ethiopian.
Yeah.
Put her on black.
Put him on the front line, man. Get him killed.
So now we see how these characteristics evolve, and this is why we're saying these are 7 characteristics that we want to stay away from, because they escalate
into other stuff.
They go into other things.
Yeah.
People don't see it like that initially. That's why when people get introduced to drugs or alcohol, it just escalates.
It takes over.
You go from smoking cigarettes
to smoking crack. You go from cigarettes to smoking weed,
using heroin,
and the next thing you know, you're a full-fledged dope fiend. And we've seen people in school escalate from just smoking a pack of Cools and a pack of Newports. Now they're smoking weed, and then next thing you know, we're out of high school as adults. You be like, oh man, you hear he was a crackhead? It happens, and people who are watching, they know friends who they've seen come from this to this. We've all seen it.
I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Charlie Mack, and he can close us out. But the characteristics that we're avoiding are real, everyday, humanistic characteristics that presents itself to us all. I'm not saying everybody possesses these. I'm saying that none of us are above temptation.
Right.
We can live above reproach, and that takes the help of God. It takes practice or discipline, but no one is above temptation. And so when we begin to evaluate our own lives, we can make common judgment as to what works for us versus what doesn't. So I'm grateful for the topic that, we presented today. And I look forward to further dialogue about this matter, because we just skimmed the surface.
Right.
And so I just want to say, thanks for sharing, this subject, and I'm gonna let you close us out.
Well, hit the sponsors off first, then I'm gonna close them out.
Well, thanks again to the Coalesce Group for your support and your acknowledgement of what we're trying to do. We're thankful to be a part of what you're doing in the academic community, and to the sponsor of Fruit Off the Vine, which is an apparel that we just recently collaborated with, and we're looking forward to this great relationship and partnership. And whoever is interested in being a sponsor, everything is in the link in bio. And you can reach out to us on social media platforms. Thank you so much for following us.
Thank you guys for getting in the car with us and taking a ride. You can go ahead and take the seatbelts off the car and slow down. If you guys like what you hear, and like I said, we're going to be coming at you guys weekly a couple of times a week. You know, don't be afraid to share this link with other friends and family members or whatever. You know, it may be something in all the stuff we talked about, and it may hit home for them. And
or you can make some suggestions.
You guys can make suggestions on if you guys want to hear certain topics. So don't be afraid to do so. You can go ahead and hit us up in the link. Thanks for viewing, guys. Peace and love. We'll be at you again this week. Peace.